In 2019, Rebel Wilson was known for playing characters that promoted body positivity, like her Pitch Perfect role of Fat Amy. In the movie, Amy says that she asked the girls to call her fat to her face because she knows they'll just call her fat behind her back anyways. Many felt empowered by the film, especially since Amy seemed so comfortable in her own skin. So fans were shocked to learn that Rebel was partaking in a lifestyle journey she was calling her quote, year of health. Then in 2020, Rebel announced on her Instagram that she intended to go through a huge health and lifestyle change that would most likely result in her losing a lot of weight. She ended up losing over 70 pounds in about a year and announced that she hit her goal weight of 165 pounds in November of 2020. Rebel has revealed that she followed something called the Mayer method to lose the weight. This method is all about a lifestyle change and intuitive eating. One of the principles of the diet is to focus on chewing food and eating slowly in order to achieve her drastic weight loss. Rebel said recently that she wished she'd gotten on the weight loss path sooner, when she was in her 30s. Wilson told in style, quote, "Now that I know I can do it, sometimes I feel sad that I didn't do it earlier. Maybe I should have tried when I was 30, not 40. But everybody's journey is different and it's not a race or competition." To get more into her weight loss method, called the Mayer method, the diet is based on eating healthy vegetables, high-protein foods, and being mindful about eating, avoiding added sugars, and stress eating. A large part of the diet is actually encouraging positive lifestyle changes, like incorporating simple exercises and sleeping more. The Mayer method dates back to the 1920s when a doctor in Austria invented it. Wilson actually went to a specific clinic in Austria that teaches the method in 2019. After this meeting, she was excited to give the diet a try. Wilson explained her new approach to her fans in a social media video, telling them how this method helps people put themselves in better situations where they feel in control of their decisions and less distracted while they eat, so they don't make poor choices. The method encourages going for walks or hiking as a way of reducing stress, which is a cornerstone principle. The diet also allows for a glass of wine at dinner, which is a nice treat. The point of the diet change is to go from eating inflammatory foods to anti-inflammatory to change the health of the gut, focusing on tons of vegetables and high-protein foods to do so. The diet avoids inflammatory foods like processed foods, dairy, caffeine, and gluten. After opening up about her stunning transformation, Rebel revealed that back when she was contemplating the weight loss journey, some of the people on her own team were not too happy when she decided she was going to lose weight. She told the BBC, quote, "I got a lot of pushback from my own team actually, here in Hollywood, when I said, okay, I'm going to do this year of health. I feel like I'm really going to physically transform and change my life." This pushback was because she'd become known for her weight in the industry and she was getting roles as the quote, funny fat girl, as she says. Changing her entire branding at that point could have been the end of her career. However, she didn't let their opinions stop her, because she knew she needed that change in her lifestyle to be as healthy as possible. She also knew she needed to address her unhealthy eating habits. Adding, quote, "I knew deep down inside that some of the emotional eating behaviors I was doing were not healthy, like I didn't need a tub of ice cream every night. That was me kind of numbing emotions using food, which wasn't the healthiest thing." Rebel has also revealed her change in diet was in part to increase her chances of getting pregnant. She said on Instagram Live back in July, quote, "It first started when I was looking into fertility stuff, and the doctor was like, well, you'd have a much better chance if you were healthier." Rebel says she was initially offended that he brought that up, but after thinking about it, she knew the doctor was right. She continued in the interview, quote, "So that's kind of where it started, that if I lost some excess weight, that it would give me a better chance for freezing eggs and having the eggs be a better quality. It wasn't even really myself, it was more thinking of the future mini-me, really." Now that Rebel has lost the weight up to 77 pounds at this point, she's now focused on maintaining the weight loss and not putting it back on, like she had done in the past. In an interview with Women's Health, Rebel spoke about the permanent lifestyle changes that she's made, saying, quote, "The biggest lesson that I've learned is how to deal with my emotional eating, learning to process my emotions and deal with my emotions better. That's really what's changed my life for the better." Rebel has also shared with fans some candid posts about her journey and some of her low points that really encouraged the change. In August, she posted a throwback photo at her largest weight. In the caption, she spoke about all the bad things that happened around that time in her life, like losing her father to a heart attack. At that time, she was using food to manage her feelings. The caption read in part, quote, "Okay, so I know I normally post flattering photos of myself, but I found this old photo in my emails and was like, whoa." She wrote in the caption, "I remember this was when I was at my most unhealthiest, being overweight and indulging way too much with junk food, using food to numb my emotions." Finishing off the caption that she is so proud of herself and anyone who wants to make this change can do it if they try hard enough. In the Women's Health interview, Rebel spoke about her current daily regimen. In 2020, she was focused on losing the weight, so in 2021, she was only trying to maintain. She said, quote, "There were times last year where I was eating on a very strict diet, and then now it's more about balance. She said she's incorporated snacks back into her diet, and she indulges in the occasional ice cream and chocolate. To her, this approach feels more maintainable. She's also made an effort to make her past favorite unhealthy foods more healthy, like incorporating more vegetables in meals that didn't always include as many. For example, she loves to add shredded carrots and avocados to her tacos. She's also lessened her fitness routine and added in more moderate workouts that are easier to stick to. She said, quote, "I don't have to do such extreme workouts. It's really about enjoying exercise and physical activity. So I'll just go on a light walk. I'm not killing myself at the gym." Just last week, Rebel continued to share pictures of her new figure, posing on a couch for a New Year's Eve photo. She wrote in a stunning Instagram post, quote, "Starting off the new year strong. Happy New Year to you legends, love from down under." She celebrated in her native Australia, sharing moments from the night on her Instagram, like fireworks and drinks with her friends. While talking to People, she also opened up about her current dating life. She confirmed that she's single after a split with her ex-boyfriend, Jacob Bush. And she says she isn't looking to date at the moment. She spoke about her single summer, saying, quote, "I was doing the hot girl summer thing. I heard about it in rap songs and I was like, this sounds fun. But it really wasn't me. I'm more of a conservative girl normally." Although she confirmed she dated some people over the summer and had a nice time, nothing serious came out of it. Following the breakup, Wilson confirmed she hopped on a dating app to see who was out there, but she deleted it after she got way too much attention. I mean, being a celebrity on a dating app is definitely not easy. She also spoke about her weight loss and turning 40, saying, quote, "Last year I for the first time ever prioritized my health. And even though that was my 40th year, I was just like, it's never too late to improve yourself or to improve your health. I shouldn't feel sad or beat up on myself because of that. I should just feel proud of myself for actually doing it." As of now, Rebel looks phenomenal as an inspiration to women everywhere who are looking to make a lifestyle change. After researching a bit about her diet, I'm definitely going to start eating my meals slower and enjoy them. That was one of the principles of the diet. Let me know if you have any 2022 health and fitness goals below. We can all encourage each other in the comments. In his younger years, Mickey focused his attention on sports, and he became an amateur boxer at the age of 12, fighting under the name Phil Rourke. But after a few concussions, Mickey decided to take a break from boxing and give acting a try. In the 1970s, he played small roles in big-budget films. Then in the 80s, he became a bona fide star when his looks got him cast in seductive movies like Diner, Rumblefish, and The Pope of Greenwich Village. Like Marlon Brando or James Dean, Rourke's face had soft feminine touches, blurred with, rugged manliness. And like those actors, his looks were short-lived. After a few years of being a Hollywood hunk, Mickey slowly started to detest Hollywood, and he even slammed his fellow co-stars and directors in the press when talking about his movies, saying in 1992, quote, "You go through the motions of feeling it, but you know the studio owns the public owns your so over a period of 8 years, you slowly lose your spirit in a way." And it seemed that his anger towards the industry manifested in him finding a way out in the form of boxing. In the early 1990s, he started boxing often, while still booking movie roles in between. But because he was a big star, he boxed with a lot of pros and he was getting regularly hit in the face. Something that obviously isn't great if you are a movie star. Some think the reason that Mickey got back into a sport that he knew would change his face was a way to rebel against the industry, as his face was the reason he was successful, and he started to resent the pressure the public put on his looks. This same thing was felt by Britney Spears when she shaved her head, with her telling a tattoo artist at that time, quote, "I don't want anyone touching me. I'm tired of everybody touching me." And at that time, shaving her hair was her way of getting back in control of how she looked and giving a big middle finger to those that wanted her to look a certain way. And then only after a few short years of boxing, the damage was done and Mickey looked very different than the Mickey that we knew from before. He broke his nose twice, snapped his cheekbone, and damaged his ribs and toes. At the time, everyone around him was telling him to stop boxing, as there were fears he could get permanent brain damage. But since he was acting around the same time, after he got hit in the ring, he would have to quickly fix it before getting back on screen. So he underwent tons of surgical quick fixes around this time and made his face look even worse. In a few scenes from the 1990 erotic thriller Wild Orchard, Rourke's cheeks are noticeably swollen, with people speculating that he got cheek implants, which Rourke denied, saying it was because of tooth surgery. And after years of botched surgeries to fix his face in 2009, he even admitted that his botched surgeries were the reason he was unrecognizable, saying, quote, "Most of it was to mend the mess of my face because of the boxing, but I went to the wrong guy to put my face back together," admitting to having 5 operations on his nose because it was broken twice, then also admitting he went under the knife for a smashed cheekbone. After all the botched surgeries, Rourke's reputation turned from that of a young, talented star to a washed-up has-been. At this time, it seemed his whole life was on the decline. He wasn't working much, was spending insane sums of money, and was in a toxic marriage. With his marriage to his Wild Orchid co-star, model Carrie Ot, dominating headlines. Speaking to The Times in 2011, Ot spoke of the strange dynamic in the marriage, saying, quote, it was a paradox. I was afraid of his violence, but I felt a responsibility to protect him. I will always have a really sweet spot in my heart for him. I was so pleased he got the Oscar nomination in 2009. Around this time, Rourke was also reflecting on his departure from the film industry, saying in one interview, quote, I had my career going about 10 years ago in the right direction. I started not liking the business and not liking myself. I was slowly self-destructing at a pretty fast rate. I felt like I didn't belong doing what I was doing, meaning the acting. I felt some sort of guilt about being successful at it. Then in 2008, Rourke was a part of The Wrestler, which was his most critically acclaimed performance, getting him an Oscar nomination. This then led to other opportunities to get him back into mainstream cinema. But yet again, this was short-lived, as Rourke started trashing some of his projects after The Wrestler, like 13 and Passion Play, admitting he did them for money. And of course, after that, offers dried up, not only because of his trash talking, but also his appearance was the worst it had ever been, with his face looking botched and leathery due to bad Botox and surgery, but also his body not looking like what it once was. In 2009, for a bout with Elliot Seymour in Russia, which marked his first professional fight in more than 20 years, and he won in the second round from knockout. After that, he gave up boxing for good and tried to get his look back in order, and by about 2014, he was looking better than he had in years. His face that before looked leathery and stretched now was looking tanned and toned, with him growing out his goatee and a mustache, and his hair was long with him rocking silver hair extensions. Then posting an Instagram photo in 2014 with the caption, quote, now I'm pretty again, one more to go, showing that he had just gotten a nose job. But his look changed yet again a few years later, and in 2019 when he appeared on the Piers Morgan show, fans were tweeting that the person they just saw on TV looked nothing like Mickey Rourke. I'm not sure what he did since 2017, but clearly at that time it was making him look very unnatural, and he's kept that same look ever since.
Let's start off with who is Dolly Parton. Now before we get into the details about Dolly Parton's plastic surgery journey and how she's altered her appearance over the course of her career, let's first dive into who Dolly really is, her career, and why people love her so much. Dolly Parton has one of the greatest success stories out there. Coming from nothing, she was able to rise to fame and build herself an empire that has brought her so many opportunities and huge career moments. Dolly is completely self-made. A lot of the time, many singers have connections to the music industry, and that's how they're able to find success, but not Dolly. Dolly grew up pretty poor with 11 siblings living in a one-room cabin. She just had a dream of being a singer when she began performing in church with her family. Soon her dream got her to perform on local radio and TV stations, but her talent proved to be something pretty darn special. Though for a while she stuck to having small gigs just to get her voice out there as much as she could, she one day got an invitation to perform at the Grand Ole Opry, where she met Johnny Cash, who believed in her and her talent and encouraged Dolly to keep performing. She stuck to it, and after she graduated from high school, she moved to Nashville and started writing songs for other artists. Though she found a lot of success with her writing, she just couldn't shake the call of the stage and the shining lights. In 1967, she decided to take that leap of faith with her music career and released her first album titled Hello, I'm Dolly. She garnered a pretty big following right away, and the rest is history. She's released so much music since her first album, with her sound ranging from country to country pop, bluegrass, and even gospel. Other than having a booming music career, she also became quite the businesswoman, using her fame as a singer to open her own establishments. One establishment that we all no doubt are familiar with is the Dollywood theme park, but she has so many other businesses that include the Dollywood Splash Country, Dreammore Resort and Spa, Stampede, Pirates Voyage, Smoky Mountain Opera, Hatfield and McCoy Dinner Feud, Comedy Barn, Frizzle, and the Chicken Farmhouse Cafe. Even more impressive is her humanitarian work. Dolly has been known to work with many organizations and charities supporting a number of causes. She's worked on providing free books to children to encourage a love of reading, she's raised and donated money for various relief causes, and she even provided funding for the Moderna COVID vaccine. Other than spending money on helping others though, she's also used her hard-earned wealth to work on herself and alter her appearance, so let's get into that. But before we get into the nitty-gritty about Dolly Parton and her signature looks, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. Now let's get into the plastic surgery journey. Now that we know who Dolly really is, let's get to talking about her appearance and her journey with plastic surgery. Over the years, Dolly Parton has been very open about her plastic surgery. She isn't afraid to reveal the work that she's had done and seems to be pretty open about all questions about her appearance, making her one of the most honest celebrities out there, at least when it comes to her procedures. She's admitted to having had many procedures done over the course of her life. Some of the operations that she's talked about having include breast augmentation, a brow lift, eyelid surgery, rhinoplasty, a chin augmentation, and face augmentation. Her surgeon has admitted though that Dolly has never had a full facelift before, which can explain why she still looks so good even after having had all those surgeries, because let's admit, sometimes when celebrities get facelifts, they can come out looking a little scary or nothing like themselves. Luckily for Dolly, she's retained pretty much all of her natural features, but she's really just aged a bit. According to her surgeon, Dolly started getting work done in her 40s when she first started noticing signs of aging. The surgeon told the publication Closer Weekly, quote, "I think she started when she was in her mid to late 40s. That's the time that the first signs of aging like volume loss start to become evident. She probably uses moisturizers and recovery creams, undergoes microneedling, and non-ablative and ablative lasers." End quote. As to what the surgeon has said about Dolly's appearance despite having had so many procedures done, he told the publication, quote, "I truly believe her looks are the combination of both. I do believe that it is a healthy and harmonious lifestyle with her personal wisdom and depraved of exaggerations that preserved her beauty through the years. I do believe that includes wisdom of choosing the right, skillful, and honest plastic surgeon for her face." End quote. Dolly has said that she isn't afraid to go under the knife to achieve her desired look, but with that mindset, that must also cost her a pretty penny, so let's get into that part of her cosmetic transformation. Now let's get into the cost. With all of the work that Dolly has done over the course of her career, you would imagine that it would have cost her quite a lot of money to have all that work done. Well, it is a surprising cost, so let's talk about it. Dolly isn't at all shy about talking about money, at least when it comes to what she's donated to the various organizations that she supports, as well as what she's spent on her appearance. I can see why she would be open to discussing that, since she's entirely self-made and is proud of how far she's come and the fact that she can do these things for herself. One of the most expensive procedures that Dolly has paid for has of course been the ones for her breasts. We all know that Dolly is kind of known for her chest, but how she got to this point with them is kind of wild. In an interview with Q magazine, Dolly once revealed that she paid $1 million to have her breasts done. She revealed that she's really happy and proud of the way they looked, and even said, quote, "I've slapped a few people who didn't stare at them. This kind of money, they'd better be looking at them." End quote. In another interview, she's talked about how expensive it is to create the look that she has and to maintain it, saying, quote, "It costs a lot of money to look this cheap. If I see something sagging, bagging, or dragging, I'm gonna have it nipped, tucked, or sucked." End quote. But if you thought $1 million was a lot to spend on her looks, then wait until you hear about her plastic surgery splurge as her gift to herself for her 75th birthday. According to sources, Dolly wanted to get a bunch of work done, from the quote, "top of her head to her toes." End quote. The singer was also not sparing any expenses to achieve the outcome that she wanted. Apparently, Dolly had set aside a budget of $2 million for her procedures to make sure that she was getting exactly what she wanted and that it was going to be well done. The source close to Dolly revealed that, quote, "Dolly won't be sparing any expense with the surgery. She'll get the best of the best because, let's face it, she has the money. She set aside a budget of $2 million, which is probably more than she'll need, but it'll be a guarantee that anything she gets done will be taken care of for the rest of her life." End quote. Now let's move on to her feelings about all of her procedures. Now you must be thinking to yourself, well, with all of that work done and the amount of time and money spent on her appearance, how does she feel about it all? Well, let's talk about that. Dolly has always had an over-the-top style, and she's even revealed how she believes that she's created her own unique style through her procedures and other factors like her hair and makeup. She's always been one to stand out, and so Dolly has said that she likes getting work done to maintain that sense of uniqueness. She's 100% Dolly through and through. Apparently, over the course of her career, she's been told to dial back her look a little bit, but that's not how Dolly works, you know? In response to those requests, she's spoken out about that, telling sources, quote, "I not only didn't tone it down, I figured if my work was truly good enough, people would eventually recognize that. It was about me knowing who I was, being happy with me, and feeling comfortable in the way I presented myself. If I was happy, I could make other people happy. That's how I've always looked at it. I look totally artificial, but I'm totally real. As a writer, as a professional, as a human being. A rhinestone shines just as good as a diamond." End quote. She's happy with the way that she looks, and that's what truly matters in the end. And now let's talk about her plans for the future. Now with Dolly getting older and being in a different part of her life now compared to when she was younger, the question remains, is she still going to keep getting work done? Well, let's get into what Dolly has said about that. We all know that there is no stopping Dolly Parton. She does what she wants when she wants to, and she's a very busy woman. She said that she plans on doing what she's always been doing until she can't go anymore, saying, quote, "I don't think about my life in terms of numbers. First of all, I ain't never gonna be old. I ain't got time to be old. I can't stop long enough to grow old. I bet you I won't look much different when I'm 95 if I live that long because I'm like the Gabber sisters." End quote. I have to say, I love Dolly's energy and way of looking at life so unapologetically. She's definitely a good role model to look up to if you want to follow in her way of working hard, achieving your goals, and being 100% authentic. I think the takeaway from all this is that it doesn't matter what you look like as long as you're happy with yourself and where you are in life. That's what matters. And sometimes you just have to work hard to achieve that happiness.
1970s. Taken from photos in her yearbook, it appears that Madonna went through high school with thinly plucked eyebrows and natural looking makeup. Her hair is also its natural color, which was a dirty blonde kind of brunette. In 1978, she took some acting headshots where she was again sporting minimal makeup yet with crimped hair. Her eyes have always been Betty Davis-esque, where they are striking and sharp. Then, as Madonna's fame starts to soar, her style begins pivoting from natural and relatively minimal to an edgier, more punky look. In 1979, she chopped her hair off and sported a slick pixie cut. Now living in Manhattan, she rocked heavy lipstick and artfully applied shadows to enunciate her eyes. Once we entered the 1980s, Madonna has become a mega superstar. She introduced the world to the Manhattan club scene. She released her self-titled debut album in this decade and began cultivating an edgy, fun aesthetic. She over-glamorized with poppy colors in her makeup and clothing. She was quintessential 80s. At this point, she also hasn't gotten any plastic surgery done because she's so young. I doubt she would really feel the need to, especially because of how naturally beautiful she is. She became known for her bright red lipstick and smoky eye, which is now considered a classic look in part due to Madonna's consistent use of it. In 1985, she also did the infamous Like a Virgin and would embody that role for quite some time. She became the soiled virgin during this era, a woman in a wedding dress with blood pouring out of her abdomen. Her looks during the 80s are more synonymous with how people view Madonna as a whole during her height. Her look was purely DIY and almost eclectic, with each individual accessory being a loud statement piece on its own. That being said, Madonna did have some cosmetic surgery during this time, but it was done to her teeth. She got a few crowns in her teeth and evened them out to seem more appealing. As we enter more into the 1990s and Madonna exits the youth and natural beauty she had been so accustomed to, we start to see much less of a fashion shift and much more of a physical form shift. She sticks to her bold lipstick and smoky eye and often chooses eclectic outfits over something more traditional. But we also start to notice lip fillers, and her face begins to shift in a way that seems like an attempt to fight the natural progress of age. In the late 90s too, it became apparent that Madonna started on a Botox regime to keep her cheeks full and prevent sagging. Although none of this is confirmed, it's hard not to see. When she smiles, there's very little expression lines as opposed to her younger self, who showcases her smile with lines on the sides of her lips. Her eyes also look more frozen and less expressive. As we enter into the 2000s, we see both a massive style shift and a physical form shift as well. Her style becomes much more classic. She begins wearing dark, sleek outfits and minimal makeup. It almost appears to be an ode to her younger self as she transitions into a more middle-aged woman and away from her youthful exuberance in the 80s fashion and club scene. In 2003 specifically, it also looks like she got her first facelift. This is different from the usual Botox in the sense that it's not really injections. Rather, Madonna would have had surgically, physically gotten her face lifted. The surgery is super painful and hard to do, but now Madonna's entire look has changed, with not a wrinkle on her forehead and wrinkles practically gone everywhere else. The widening of the temple to move back her hairline, coupled with wrinkling at the ears, point to the scar along her hairline. The public is starting to catch on now too, as now there's tons of tabloids about Madonna's face and how she looks so different from how she looked before. We see an eyelid surgery that got rid of the sagging on her eye folds and reduced puffiness under her eyes. Also during this time, we see the first non-subtle facial surgery. Her cheeks are noticeably much more pronounced in a way that only a cheek implant could produce. Her cheek hollows are also very pronounced.
Because Madonna has always been extremely lean and muscular, it would make sense that she would attempt to get implants, seeing as those who have much leaner frames tend to age faster because there's less fat behind the skin, so it appears less full. As time goes on though, sadly her face becomes more and more full. It starts to change the features that people see most. Before, Madonna's eyes were the star of the show. Her eyes are stunning. But as the fillers and fat transplants become more common, we start to see that her cheeks and her skin become more and more attention-grabbing. It happens a lot with dermal fillers. If people continue to use dermal fillers, as they get older they just put more on top of the old fillers, and that can lead to a larger looking face. In the 2010s we see a lot more of the same stuff. Although she's aged 10 years, you barely see it as she continues with the dermals and the facelifts. That being said, considering she's in her 50s around this time, I think she looks really good. Obviously, and here's a little rant incoming, we need to take into account that it is a surgically enhanced look, and no person at this age should expect to look like this without modifying their body in some way. I don't really want to take the angle of shaming someone for getting surgery to enhance how they look, because we've all got insecurities, and I can't imagine being in a spotlight where the way you look is such a large aspect of your career and how you're perceived by millions of people. But at the same time, we also want to tell normal people that this look is not possible naturally. It is not genetics. Of course she looks great, but don't hate yourself if you don't look like her. Anyway, sorry about that, but I do feel like being transparent on this angle here is a bit necessary to continue the video as ethically as possible. Now, in 2019, we start to see Madonna's appearance make headlines again. This time for her butt. Getting a Brazilian butt lift, Madonna is now sporting a much more voluptuous back end. Like I said, her natural figure is extremely lean and athletic, so it would be near impossible for her to attain a larger butt that is more popular these days. But Madonna definitely started to sport the stereotypical BBL look that we see on people like Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner. She's got very thin thighs and a perfectly rounded front figure in her thighs with no hip dips in sight. Almost every woman has natural hip dips, so it becomes really obvious when someone has a big butt and no dips, where the muscle in the thigh supports the butt. Madonna definitely went for a more trendy look this time, which honestly I think is closer to her brand. As the decades progress, we see her style become extremely trendy. She embodies each decade that she dominates with music. But as her music production slows, she continues to follow the trends of the decade, with a BBL kind of personifying this. And now in the current decade of the 2020s, we see a lot more fat transfers to her face from other parts of her body. Her face is getting a lot puffier, which I guess is a way to attain a fuller looking face, which is something she battles as her genetics don't hold fat in a way that it would for other people who gain weight easier. It seems she also updated her cheek implants because her cheeks have become more pronounced than ever, but this time without the accompanying hollowness below her cheeks. With the combination of a fat transplant and cheek implants, her face looks extremely full and almost unnaturally youthful. She starts to look a bit otherworldly because after a certain point, and I mean she's in her 60s now, you can't really fight age and time. Her lips have also become a lot more exaggerated around this time, with a much more noticeable lip filler dominating her face. And now in early April 2022, Madonna posted a TikTok that shocked fans and viewers. The video's weird. It's just her getting close to the camera and then far away from the camera. But it's also weird in the way that her face looks insanely different. In my personal opinion, it looked like she took the video hot off the presses of the surgery table. Her face looks puffy, but in a swollen way. And likely we'll see her look much more normal as the swelling reduces in the future. Her eyes look almost completely closed and swollen, so it looks like she got more Botox on her forehead and cheeks, which would puff up the cheeks and make her eyes look really small. Jennifer Coolidge, one of my favorite actors and comedians, has this look as well due to consistent Botox and cheek implants. A lot of fans are a little sad about Madonna's constantly changing look. One person commented on the TikTok, quote, "I've loved Madonna since I was little. Huge fan, love her, but this is a hard pass. What has she done to herself?" I think it's a hard line to tread as someone gets older. I can't imagine how dissociative one must feel to continue shifting their face to seemingly desperately reverse aging. After some time, and we're starting to see it much more now, it just looks unnatural. She's already heavily photoshops her photos on social media, and I think it all obviously points to a very intense self-esteem issue. I just hope she finds the help she needs and maybe finds the courage to embrace her natural beauty a bit more.